Hi, this is Angelique with the analysis of the movie The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And this is the summary of question 4. And question 4 was, what does the teacher have to cultivate in order to be the teacher for Dan Millman in this movie? And so the teacher archetype in this movie was very unusual, if you may remember. And so I wouldn't say that it was a very normal teacher-student relationship. And so I thought that this question would yield a lot of, insightful answers from the group. And definitely it did. And one of the things that really, struck me as something that I missed, which came out of the analysis, was that the teacher actually was very unattached to the outcome. Meaning that normally when you have a teacher-student relationship, or a teacher or a coach, coachee, a relationship or a mentor or whatever, there's actually a lot of attachment to the outcome by the mentor or by the coach or by the therapist or, whatever it is. But actually in this specific movie or this specific book, the teacher actually really withdrew. Every time he would do something, he would teach a lesson, and then he would totally detach. And so it was very interesting to see how unattached the teacher was to whether or not the student would pick up the lesson or what he did with it. And so the people who are analyzing this question were really blown away by it, and I myself too, because I thought, wow, is that actually something that I could use or should use? And what is the power of detachment when you are in a teacher role or a coach role or a therapist role or a mentor role or a manager role, whatever it is? So anyways, the teacher was also in a mindset where he taught the student to use what is happening to move you forward. No matter what happens, use it to move you forward. Another thing that the teacher was really, working with the student was to actually not tell him, not all the time tell him what he should do, but for himself to find out the purpose of a moment or an event, and to actually, maybe even detach from the judgment of things being right or wrong, or things being mistakes or victorious, whatever it is. And what was really insightful was that the teacher was very adamant about teaching the student to live in the moment and to be completely immersed in the moment, and to really become one with the moment, become one with the now, and to actually really honor that. And of course there was a huge lesson about the wisdom of being in that moment and not having all these goals in our mind and judging ourselves according whether or not we were getting closer to the goal or not. And the teacher in this movie was also very good in teaching by example. And so there were certain scenes where the teacher was, for instance, touching Dan. And through that act of touching Dan became, for instance, psychic. He started hearing the voices, the inner voices of his teammates. So he heard their pain, he heard their doubts. And so the teacher was just, showing the student through his act that a lot of the time we don't listen. All the information is out there, but we hardly ever listen. So he also taught the student how to listen. And so, and there was a fundamental lesson about, really clearing the clutter in our mind, to be more present to whatever there was. A dog barking, lovers kissing, the tree blowing in the wind, other people, having a laugh, and even being immersed, in the act of doing gymnastics, and just totally letting go, and really not worrying too much. And so it was very, very interesting that although a teacher is supposed to impart wisdom or is supposed to impart knowledge to a student, actually this movie or this book was teaching us that the teacher was here to actually clear our minds. It was actually there to delete all the programs. It's like delete. So that to me was like, wow. Yeah, so maybe wisdom is about unlearning. Wisdom is about the application of wisdom, is about forgetting rather than pushing in more information and pushing in more knowledge. Of course, knowledge is not wisdom, and that's also one of the quotes in the movie. So yeah, it was very, very beautiful, this analysis. So I want to move on to question number 5.